Hey guys, Madison here from Northern Adventures, and today we're going to be making a video about two different things that you can do in preparation for a trip. So what we're going to make up today is called Nessmuk bug repellent, and it's basically a recipe found in the book Woodcraft and Camping by George W. Sears, who wrote under the name Nessmuk. And the other thing we're going to do is just simply waxing some matches. So to wax your matches, what you're going to want to do is get a pot like you saw on the fire, fill it maybe a quarter to a halfway up with water, and then you're going to want to grab some candles. And you're going to take these candles and shave off the wax into a small container. And what this is going to do basically is this smaller container with the wax is going to float around in the water, and when the water in your pot heats up over the fire, it's going to melt the wax in here without burning it to the bottom of your pot. So we'll just get this all shaved up for now, and once we get it melted down in the pot, we'll come back. So it's been fairly wet here the last few days, and keeping this fire going has been a bit of a challenge. And one of the real reasons that I've been able to do it, and this is something you'd usually be able to do, well, you'd usually want to do with an axe. It's a little bit more suited to the task. But, you know, this way of doing it is fine too. A lot of people think it's dumb or whatever, but if you don't have an axe available, or if it's not really a piece you can split with an axe, like this piece here, you know, there's no real flat spot to set it down. And this will really change the way that you can make fire and access dry wood, because this is all wet, soaked on the outside. But if you see on the inside here, if you can get to it, it's nice and dry. And so what you're going to want to do, or what you're going to want to use, is a technique called batoning. And basically what it consists of is you take a knife with a fairly thick spine, and you set it in the top of your piece of wood like that, and then you're just going to take a second stick and beat the tip of the knife, and you're going to want to hit as far to the front of the stick and as far to the front of the knife as possible, because that's just going to give you more force driving down into the wood. And you're just going to push it down all the way through, and that'll let you get to the dry stuff in the middle of your wood. And this is a really valuable skill if you can't, you know, for whatever reason you don't have an axe, or you can't split the wood otherwise. This is going to help you and drastically change the way that you can process wood and start fires. So while we're finishing up the wax melting, I just thought I'd take a couple seconds to discuss sort of the goals, or, you know, what I hope to do with this YouTube channel. And, you know, I don't really want to get into gear reviews and stuff, because, I don't know, I don't really feel that that's anything new. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of channels on YouTube that review gear and that sort of stuff. So I just want to focus on the skills. And, you know, I was lucky enough growing up where I did that everyone I knew camped and, you know, went outdoors and was able to teach me that when I was growing up. And even in high school we had an outdoor ed program, and even my university course is for outdoor skills and outdoor adventure leadership. And I'm sort of, you know, the more people I talk to, and the more you get out of your shell and out of your hometown experience, you realize not everybody has had that sort of raising. And a lot of people want to get into it, but they're intimidated, or it just seems sort of daunting to go out that far outside of their comfort zone, depending on how urban or suburban, or, you know, wherever their life has been. And so I just sort of wanted to start a channel to kind of show or help new people get into bushcraft or camping and develop, you know, the skills they need. That being said, you know, if somebody asks me and they say, oh, I'm looking to get into this, and, you know, what sort of equipment do I need, or what do you know about this piece of equipment, I will, you know, I don't mind giving recommendations, but I don't want to start doing in-depth video reviews just on equipment, because the equipment's not what's going to make you an effective or a proficient woodsman. It's the knowledge, and that takes time, and that takes someone to teach you. So I figured, you know, why not just start a channel? So as you can see, we've got our wax all melted down here, and we're ready to start waxing our matches. Now, there are a couple ways to do this, and the way that I usually do is you take either Kleenex or toilet paper, or you know, whatever you have on hand, and you rip it just into small sections, and you wrap it around your matchsticks. And what this will do is it'll sort of act as a wick, so when the wax is melting, it'll go, and it won't burn right away, but it'll soak into the tissue, and then the wax will burn out first, and then the tissue will burn out, and it just gives you a lot more longevity to your matches. So once you've got that all wrapped up, you're just going to dip it into the wax, and it's not that hot, just enough to melt it. And you're just going to want to thoroughly soak it and set it aside to harden. And so I'm just going to do that with probably 6 or 7 matches, and then once it's hardened up, you're going to go for a second coat. So we'll get them all done up, and then we'll go through to the second coat. Okay, so once they're dried up after the first cycle, you're just going to want to dip them in one more time. This just, you know, it waterproofs your match, and it just gives it a lot more time to burn. And yeah, after that you're good to go. And you can see I just keep them in my little fire kit here. So it's just a little mint tin that fits in one of my pouches on my belt. And I have everything I need ready for a fire there, ready to go. So now that we're back home where I managed to forget all the ingredients, we're going to mix up what I called the Nessmuk or George W. Sears bug dope. And what it is basically a recipe that he recommended in his, I don't know when the book was written, but sometimes in the 1800s, and the book was called Woodcraft and Camping. What the recipe calls for is 3 parts pine tar, you guys can see that, 2 parts castor oil, and 1 part pennyroyal oil. And just for flavor and just so that it doesn't smell quite so strongly, I'm going to be throwing in some peppermint oil as well. Now it's very important that you don't ingest any of these because they're not good for you. They're fine to rub on your skin, they're fine for exterior use, but don't eat them or don't drink them or, you know, whatever. So you're just going to mix in 3 to however many scoops of the pine tar you're using. And all the other ingredients I managed to find at a health food store. And I called everywhere in town. Nobody knew what the heck I was talking about when I asked for pine tar. So if you're having a hard time finding it, where I wound up being able to find it was actually an equestrian supply store. Okay, so once you've got all your pine tar in there, and it really just depends on, you know, how much you're making. It doesn't matter how much you put, just so long as the ratios remain intact. You're going to move on to the castor oil. And what the castor oil is doing is basically acting as an emulsifier to help the pine tar mix with the other 2, or, you know, whatever oils you're using, the pennyroyal or the peppermint. It's basically just to help them mix. And so you're going to want to go with 2/3 as much of the castor oil as you did the pine tar. The recipe in the book calls to mix these over a low heat, but the jar of pine tar that I got is actually fairly non-viscous. It's fairly thin. I don't know if you can see it. It moves fairly freely, so I'm not particularly worried about heating this. Now the reason I'm choosing to use this particular mixture as bug repellent over, you know, a conventional store-bought Muskol or Deep product is that while, you know, it does smell very strongly and it smells like absolute hell, none of these ingredients are synthetic and they don't smell off to animals. So I'm going to be using this for hunting, and that's really the only reason I would choose this over the other stuff. As well, this much will last me a week or longer in the bush, whereas, you know, back here we have a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of black flies, whatever, you name it, we've got them. And I'd have to carry in 2 or 3 bottles of the off product to, you know, tie me over for a week. With this stuff, it's not going to bother the animals, it's not going to run out, and, you know, it's going to stay on. I'm not going to have to reapply it when I'm sweating or working out in the bush. Alright, thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed or found something useful on this video today. We'll be having more videos coming up soon. I'm going on a 5-day bear hunting trip in 2 days, so expect that to be up probably next Friday or so, that I'll have it edited and posted. Have a nice day and be safe in the bush, guys.